everyone and Happy New Year. I hope that you all had a lovely Yule and Christmas and just general holiday season. I was hoping to have this video and this particular review done at the end of last year, but unfortunately things come up and I wasn't able to get it done. So instead it's going to be my first review of 2022. And I'm really excited about this review, and I'm excited about a lot of the reviews that I've got coming up. I've got some great books to share with you. If you don't already, then please go over to Instagram and follow me over there, because I do post regular updates about all the books that I receive and that I'm going to be reviewing. So it's just a really great place for you to keep up to date if you're interested. And if you like my reviews and you enjoy my videos, then please do think about subscribing and liking and all that good stuff on YouTube as well. So right, today on to the review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck and guidebook, and this is by Krans. This was very kindly sent to me by Harper One books for the purpose of this review. It is already out. It's been out for a fair few years now, I think, a couple of years. But I just thought it would be really good to do a review for those people that maybe are not really sure about it, not sure what it is, how it works, etc. So I just hope that you enjoy the review and that you enjoy having a look at the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck with me. So let's get straight on with it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit first about the creator of this deck, Krans. Krans is a visual artist and author working at her studio in Brooklyn in New York. She received her BFA in drawing at Cooper Union in NYC, her MFA in mixed media at Hunter College, and an MA in depth psychology and creativity at Pacifica Graduate Institute in California. I love how she brings all of these things together, the drawing and visual aspects with the mixed media and the psychology, and it's all channeled into her work. She has also studied yoga and shamanism in India, Africa, Europe and the UK. She teaches creative events and workshops using art, meditation, mysticism and movement. Some of Krans' most notable works then that have been published are the New York Times best-selling tarot deck, which is the Wild Unknown tarot deck, and this was actually my very first tarot deck that I ever got. She's also published another deck, which is the Animal Spirit Oracle deck, and this also comes with a guidebook. They both come with beautiful guidebooks. Some of her books as well include the Wild Unknown Journal, which is another one of her works that I have, but she does also have a memoir, a graphic memoir called Blossoms and Bones, which is one that I'm really interested in. She also has children's books called Whose Moon Is That?, 1, 2, 3 Dream and ABC Dream, which even though I don't have any children, I still kind of want the books just because Krans' art style is just beautiful, and I think that they are sort of like collector's things as well, I suppose. So as well as releasing the publications that I've mentioned, she is also a multimedia artist, filmmaker and musician. So while learning about Kim as well, I did find out that she is creating a new Oracle deck and guidebook, which is to be released this year, I think. So I'm very excited about that and hope to be getting a copy of that. But for today, I'm going to move on to tell you a little bit about the Archetypes deck itself. Okay, so the Archetypes deck and guidebook then. I would categorise it as an Oracle deck, even though it doesn't really say Oracle on the box or anything. So I'm just going to quickly read to you the little blurb on the back, just so you can get a little bit of an idea as to what it's about. So it says, "Welcome to the Wild Unknown Archetypes. You will find within 78 circular cards in a round box, lavishly illustrated 224-page guidebook. From the wellspring of the collective unconscious emerge images that appear in the dreams of every culture, illuminating our multiplicity and uniting us in the endless story of humanity. These are archetypes. Their limitless potential is yours to behold as you travel to the realm of dreams, visions, and myth. May you always be on the inner quest. That's just a little bit about the deck then, and what it says on the back. It sounds very mystical and very magical, so if you are a little bit confused as to what this deck is, then don't worry, I will be getting to that in my thoughts. I am going to do a super quick unboxing just so that you know what's inside and what comes with it. The box is beautiful and the artwork is very Krans. If you are familiar with the other work that I've mentioned, then you will recognise the art style instantly. Inside the box there is the guidebook, which is very nice and kind of chunky. There are 78 different cards with the deck and they are all circular, so rather than the traditional rectangle that we might be used to from tarot and oracle decks. I have seen a few decks doing this recently, but this is the first one that I've actually owned and I've tried, so I am interested to see how I work with them. Someone on my Instagram did mention that they are kind of tricky to shuffle, so I will let you know how I get on with that. The artwork, as with the box design, is stunning and I love the vibe. It totally resonates with me. I was a little bit disappointed with the cardstock. It's not bad, it's about the same that you would expect from a regular card deck, but I guess I was hoping for something a little bit thicker, maybe something that's a little bit cardboard-like. Right guys, I am going to share some of my thoughts about the deck then. So I have used it a couple of times now for my own personal readings, so I'm going to share a little bit about how I got on with it, what I think about it, and just a few other general pieces that it's good to know about the deck. So firstly, when I think about archetypes in tarot and in oracle decks, I usually think of the major arcana. So those 22 cards that represent the archetypes that we embody and that we experience throughout our lives. So I was expecting there to be some similar themes or ideas that link to the major arcana. And there is some crossover there. There's a mother card, there's a father card, the lovers or the lover. And there are a few other ideas that link to tarot. However, I do feel like these cards are a lot more spiritual and they are definitely a lot more abstract than your traditional tarot deck would be. They tend to focus on more of an internal exploration. So whereas tarot can point to the external, to tangible ideas, to real life events and problems that we sort of experience in our daily lives, this is definitely more inward looking. So I guess what I'm trying to say is a deck of self-reflection and self-exploration, and it does deal with more abstract ideas like dreams, the unconscious, our emotions, and just a general deep dive look at ourselves, I suppose. So in the guidebook, Krans does refer to this idea and she calls it the imaginal. So it's things that are in the realm of poetry, images, metaphors and the imagination. And that's definitely what this deck is going to be most useful for. Before using the deck, I would definitely recommend reading the guidebook. Even if you are familiar with using tarot decks and oracle decks, the guidebook provides so much depth and insight into using this particular deck. I don't consider it to be your typical oracle deck, and as I mentioned earlier, the deck and the guidebook, the box, etc., they don't refer to it as an oracle deck sort of at all, because I don't believe it works in entirely the same way as you might expect an oracle deck to work. It's also a good idea to read the guidebook, especially if you're not familiar with some of the sort of basic ideas of psychology and the archetypes, then the guidebook's going to be really important for you. You don't need to read the whole thing, so you don't need to read every individual card. You can just refer to those when they appear and when they show up in your readings. But definitely the first section of the book, sort of the introduction section, it just gives a really good explanation that you probably would need to read and understand before using the deck. When it comes to the readings that I have done then, I've found that Kim Krans is always very metaphorical and philosophical in her explanations of the cards and what they want to tell us. I am used to this because I have worked with, like I said, her tarot deck, the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, and the Animal Spirit deck. However, if you are new to the world of the Wild Unknown, then it will probably take a little bit of getting used to with how she works and sort of the reading of the cards, I suppose. If you are looking for some plain and simple and just direct answers, then you probably won't find them with this deck. However, if you are looking for some in-depth, some soul and spirit searching that just really makes you think and dig deeply, then this is definitely the deck for you. When getting to know new decks, a lot of people like to start with a one card pull, and I love the way that Kim has taken this a little bit further or extended on this idea with this deck. So even just pulling one card can offer a very deep exploration. So at first I was worried that I wouldn't be able to work intuitively with this deck, but Kim advises you to riff with the deck and with the card that's in front of you before reading the description. So it could be something like describing the card, writing it down, drawing the card, and just generally thinking about what it reminds you of. It might take some time, but I think that eventually intuitive reading of the deck will get a lot easier. I also want to share a little bit about a full reading that I did with this deck. So I started with the Summon the Divine spread, which is a 3-card spread, and I wanted to start with this one because it seemed quite simple. The 3 cards represent 3 areas of the spine and the ascending chakras, so it deals with the root, the heart and the crown. So the spread itself deals with the physical, the emotional and spiritual ideas. I really enjoyed the reading that I got from this spread. It focused on some key internal ideas and issues and offered some good self-reflection. I also liked that there was guidance to help me navigate the various ideas that arose from the reading. I feel like you could get some really deep and meaningful readings from this deck. One thing that I personally loved about this deck was that it ignited my creative side. And if you do consider yourself to be a creative person, then I think that this would be a deck that you would really love and be able to use to help with your creativity. Personally, I love to be creative through writing and through painting, and this deck really did help me to tap into that aspect of myself. I think it's really great for creative and visual people, especially if you are currently in a little bit of a slump, maybe you're feeling uninspired, but the deck can offer you some guidance or just general ways to reignite that inspiration and where to go looking for it. Even just looking at the concepts of the cards or the images on there can be really inspiring. Kim does mention in the guidebook that the archetypes insist on the imagination and that they move us from the literal to the mythic by getting us out of our heads and into the space of dreams, emotions and imagination. And I feel like that's really where our creativity comes from and why this deck is so good at tapping into that. Time For some final thoughts then. So overall, I really did love using this deck and getting to know it. Like I said, I've only used it a couple of times, so I still have a way to go in terms of getting used to it and getting to know it. But from what I've used so far, I feel like it's opened up a lot of possibilities for self-analysis and reflection. The things that I loved about the deck then were the images. Obviously, Kim Kranz's artwork is stunning. The guidebook and the explanation of the cards within it are really well written and really well developed. And I also appreciated the spreads that were featured in the guidebook. You could quite easily use spreads that you would just generally use for tarot readings or oracle readings. However, I do feel like the spreads that are in the guidebook that have been included really will help you get the best and make the most out of these cards. One I want to try, especially for the new year, is called The Heroine's Journey, because it's described as a good spread to do at a significant milestone, and I sort of feel like that's where I am at the moment going into this new year. I might post a little bit about how I get on with that spread, maybe on Instagram, so like I said, feel free to go and follow me over there. One thing I do want to reiterate is that this deck features themes and ideas that can delve quite deeply into our psyche, into our inner self, and it would also be good for some shadow work. So it's probably really important, in fact it's definitely really important, to make sure that you do some self-care afterwards, making sure that you're just ending the readings on a positive note. In the same vein, I don't think this is a deck that I would use regularly or too regularly. I imagine that it can be quite draining to do too much inward looking and soul searching and examining various aspects of yourself. So I think it's probably a deck that I will use infrequently, but when I do use it, I will get a lot from it, if that makes sense. Okay guys, that's it for today's review. I hope that you found it useful. Please do let me know if you have any questions about this deck. Ask me in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. Let me know what you think about the deck. Is it one that you have or one that you may consider getting for yourself? Okay guys, thanks again very much for watching and I will see you in the next video.